Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast with Bryce Johnson. It's a show that unpacks sports, faith, and life with intriguing guests from the sports and entertainment world. Enjoy inspiring conversations and thought-provoking interviews. You'll hear stories from people that will inspire, challenge, and encourage you. Now, from the Unpacking It studios in Charlotte, North Carolina, uniting sports fans everywhere, here is Bryce Johnson.
Welcome to the Unpacking It podcast, where we unpack sports, faith, and life with intriguing guests from the sports and entertainment world. I'm Bryce Johnson. Hope you're doing well today. Be sure to check out our website, unpackingit.com. And while you're there, subscribe to our weekday email devotional. We call it Unpack This. And also, if you haven't subscribed to the Unpacking It podcast, make sure you do so. And we appreciate you leaving a review and sharing the podcast with your friends and family and on social media. And so really appreciate the support there. We have got a really fun conversation for you today. It's with Carson Tinker. He's a former NFL long snapper, and even as I say former, it doesn't mean that he's former forever. He's out of the league right now, trying to get back in, and that whole journey is an interesting one. And so we're going to ask him about that because, not only do guys retire from the NFL. They kind of know when their time is up. Some guys are forced out of the league due to injuries. And so for Carson, last two seasons, injuries. And actually, so he did not play in 2019, but the previous two seasons before that, he did deal with injuries. And so, trying to get healthy, trying to get another opportunity. And I bring this up to him, the fact that there are only 32 long snappers in the NFL. Like they don't go three deep. They really don't even have backups on their roster. And so if a starter does go down, they have to get a guy off the street. Like they have to get a free agent. So here Carson Tinker is, he's waiting for his shot. And basically, in order for him to get his shot, many times it means the starter has to get injured or, really poor play. But oftentimes, once a team finds their long snapper, they try to stick with them as long as they can to get that continuity and that the trust is there. And it's just a fascinating position. So we'll talk about that with him and then his faith journey. And then also, he won 3 BCS National Championships while at Alabama. And his story is incredible. He actually wrote a book called A Season to Remember, Faith in the Midst of the Storm. And I don't know if you remember the tornadoes that took place in Tuscaloosa, but Carson lost his girlfriend in those tornadoes. And so went through, a lot during that time while he's in college. He has since married and has a child. And so we'll ask him about fatherhood as well. But just wanted to give you that kind of as the backdrop. As you listen to him, you'll know part of his story. And again, you can check out his book, A Season to Remember, Faith in the Midst of the Storm. And I actually had him on Unpacking It while he was promoting that book, and that was maybe 5 years ago. Anyway, I didn't bring all that up today in a big way, so we'll allude to it a little bit. But anyway, it's a great interview, really cool guy, fun conversation, talk about Sesame Street and Kobe Bryant, Coach Saban, and everything he's up to now. Stick around at the end of the conversation. I'll give you my big takeaway from the interview, and I hope you enjoy. This is Carson Tinker on the Unpacking It podcast. And before we jump in, let me ask you this. Do you need health insurance? Well, get quotes for individual health insurance plans at healthmarketgenius.com. That's healthmarketgenius.com. Know your options. Also, make sure you check out our other podcasts on the feed. We've got the Audible Minute presented by Paradigm 360 Coaching and Consulting. We've also got recent interviews with Clark Kellogg, the CEO of Promise Keepers. So a lot of great content. Check it out on the Unpacking It podcast, anywhere podcasts are found. Now we jump in. Here is Carson Tinker.
Intriguing guests and inspiring conversations. This is Unpacking It with Bryce Johnson.
And joining us once again on Unpacking It is Carson Tinker. Carson, thanks so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Bryce, man. Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure.
All right. Well, we're fired up to catch up with you and hear what life is like after the NFL, and we'll also reflect on your NFL career and your college career and a lot to get to today. But I guess first up, I understand that you're now working in Houston, living in Houston, following your NFL career. So how did that come about, and how is life going post NFL?
So I'm still training. Still waiting for an opportunity. If I get a phone call, I am without a doubt gonna keep trying to do this. But in the meantime, I couldn't just sit around the house and do nothing. So I was in Jacksonville. I got released from the Jags in March, and my wife is from Houston. We have a little 2-year-old son now, and she's got a lot of family out here. So we figured that we would kind of move to Houston and kind of fill out this transition, or that would be a good stopping point. In the meantime, I had a great connection with a sports marketing agency here in Houston. So I kind of just asked if I could intern up there. And I had an internship for a while, and they offered me a full-time position, so I took that. And, man, I'm loving it, I'll always miss football. Football has a very special place, in my heart, and it's something that I'll always be passionate about. But I'm really excited, seeing what else is out there. Kind of sports marketing is what I went to college for.
Oh, nice.
So it's a lot of fun to be doing this. I'm having a lot of fun and meeting a lot of really cool people.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I want to hear more about that, but I guess I'm curious, just kind of this unique spot that you're in. So you play, 6 years in the NFL and dealt with injuries your last 2 years, and so you find yourself released from Jacksonville, yet you still want to play. So take me into the mindset and even the practicality of what that looks like for you to try to get back in while also looking at your next career, because it's just a unique spot. You're 30-some years old, and this is where you find yourself.
Yeah, it's tough, and you mentioned practicality. I'm sure that it's one of the most least practical things I could be doing right now. I wake up really early in the morning and work out and snap. Thank goodness I got a buddy here in Houston that'll catch my snaps.
Oh,
and
nice.
We're out there snapping at 5:45 in the morning, and it's dark. And sometimes I hit him right in the chest because he can't see the ball. And so it's not practical. But you know what? It's life, man. Just how there's a lot of unanswered questions out there for a lot of people. There's a lot of things that I'm trying to figure out right now as well. And I'm just trying to, make the best of everything that I got going on right now. Control the things I can control. That's one of the things that I keep having to tell myself. I can't control, what teams, choose which snapper or this or that. There's a lot of things out there that are uncontrollable to me, but I can't control, that I'm ready for when I do get a phone call. And I can't control, I wouldn't say the future, we can't control the future, but I can't control, that if football is over, that I maximize my opportunities everywhere else that I can.
That's awesome, though. What a good perspective. And I think for the average football fan, they don't necessarily even understand how the position of long snapper works, and just the reality that there are only 32 NFL long snappers. It's not like there's backups and that kind of thing. You're not 3 deep or anything like that. And so it's a really tough job to get, to keep, and you've got new guys coming in every year. What can you kind of explain to the guys listening today as far as what it takes to separate yourself and to even get noticed, even at this point where you've got 6 years of experience in the NFL and the relationships and all that sort of thing, but you've got to get that specific time, you've got to get that right opportunity. There's a lot to it, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. I think there's kind of 2 things that it takes. You have to be good, right? You have to be a good enough snapper to play in the NFL. And what I believe that it is good enough for a snapper is it takes three things. You got to be able to snap the ball, right? So they're looking for a snap that's under 0.8 seconds and pretty much hits the punter in the belt every time. So my snaps were between like 0.67 and 0.72 seconds. That's 15 yards. I'm sure I lost a lot of people right there, but just bear with me. I'll come back. So I was averaging, between 0.67, 0.72. There's definitely guys that can snap the ball faster than me. I was not the fastest snapper. But so if the punter was punting right, I would put it on his right hip. If the punter was punting left, I would put it on his left hip. So that's something that I took a lot of pride in. So you got to be able to snap. That's one thing. The second thing is you got to be able to block. That's the biggest difference in college and playing in the NFL in terms of long snapping is that there's a few teams that still block where the snapper has to block. But in the NFL, every team, you have to be able to have a snapper that can block. And we're talking about blocking, big guys. It's kind of according to what kind of scheme the defense runs of the team that you're playing. But, say a lot of guys are running like a 3-4 scheme where they have 4 linebackers and one of them plays, with his hand in the dirt. That's the guy that you're going to be blocking. It's usually, a 6'4", 265, type of guy that runs about a 4'7", 4'8". So, I mean, these are super athletic guys. Thank goodness, the guard is giving us some hand help, but it's still, a really tough position to be in to have to snap that ball with, the precision and the accuracy and then get up and get in front of a guy that's running full speed. So that's two things. And then kind of the third thing, which is a bonus, is being able to cover, running downfield, being able to make a tackle if you have to. And, I mean, there's a lot of snappers out there. I wouldn't say a lot. There's a few snappers out there that are really good in coverage. And, it's nothing like Zach Diossi for the New York Giants, who's played forever. That's kind of what he's hung his hat on, is being able to get downfield and be an asset in coverage. Back to my original point, it takes two things to snap in the NFL. One, you got to be good enough. And then number two, I think you got to be a little lucky. That there's always some guys play, 15, 16 years in the NFL, and, some guys, they only make it 1 or 2 years as a snapper. So there's always – I feel like there's always guys that are good enough to play, but it's just finding that right, hole at the right time, for the right team to get your foot in the door. There's been a lot of snappers that have been good enough that have kind of had to wait their turn for 2 or 3 years to get in the NFL. Reed Ferguson with the Buffalo Bills, he comes to mind. He's a great guy. Snapped at LSU, great snapper, but he had to sit out, 1 or 2 years and keep grinding and keep working and just wait for his opportunity. And, thank goodness it finally came for him. And he's snapping with Buffalo now. He was a special teams captain last year, so he had the C on his chest. You gotta pull for the snappers that got the C on their chest. So I'm really happy for him, yeah. So I guess that's what I'm getting at. I'm kind of rambling now.
No, it's all right. Yeah, no, I just think it's a really interesting position, and sometimes overlooked by fans, and it's one of those positions too where you basically have to be perfect on every play, which is just a crazy thing where quarterbacks throw interceptions here or there or whatever. Long snappers, you're expected to really get it done every single time you're out there. So I always, I'm always kind of drawn to the long snapper. So love having you on the show, and so let's kind of really unpack the last couple of years for you, especially from a faith perspective, because the last 2 years in the NFL you deal with injuries, and injuries are always hard, and so and now you find yourself still fighting to get back into the NFL. So what has these last few years done to your faith as far as growing your faith, challenging your faith? What has it done for you personally?
I mean, all the above, right? So I guess 2 years ago, this was 2018 season. It was when the Jags went to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
I tore my ACL and tore both my meniscus the 10th day of training camp. So, I mean, right at the end of August, tore my ACL. I was going to be out for the whole year, right? I was very fortunate throughout my whole career, my whole football career, college, high school, NFL. I've never had any serious injuries. I felt like you hear about guys that are injury prone or prone to get injured. I felt like I was prone to not get injured. I thought that I had something wrong with me where I was not going to get hurt, right? So I played, I used that to my advantage. I played all out. But, for whatever reason, that training camp, I tore my ACL and I was out for the year. And it really, I was really devastated, right? Playing, I've always been, really strong in my faith. But playing, throughout college and through the NFL this was my 5th year in the NFL. I don't know what the right word is, but I was fully identified as a football player, right? That was my identity, and I knew I was wrong, but I didn't think that it was as bad as it had gotten. But I had fully identified myself as a football player. So I don't know if you want to say that God gave me this injury or how you want to put it that way, but that's one of the things that God really revealed to me is that, well, if I don't have football, who am I? And that's one of the things that I really struggled with. So I was able to lean right into God and have my identity, in my faith and who He is and that relationship that I have with Him. But it also opened my eyes to the other things, that life has to offer. I have a great wife. So I was able to really focus on, my marriage and being the best husband, that I could be. Cause I was on IR that year. My job for essentially a whole year was rehab and to get healthy. So I got to focus, on my marriage. I got to focus on my, relationship with God. And, let's see, I tore my ACL in August, and in December, my son was born. So I got to focus on being a dad. So it was just really interesting. You're talking about perspective, kind of the change of perspective, that I had where, in August, I was 100% football player. I had the, and I know this is wrong. I don't want to say that this is how, your life should be, but I felt like that if I took care of football, everything else would kind of fall in place. Right. And when that was taken away from me, I had a huge shift in how I viewed, my life. I was able to put my focus and my attention back on, the real priorities, my relationship with God and my relationship with my family. I don't know. I know I'm rambling again, but that's
excellent.
That's what I found to be more important than football. Right. So I got healthy. The Jags had a great year that year. We lost to New England. I don't know, a couple of bad calls maybe. It could go either way according to who you ask.
That's right.
But I won't go there. That's for another time, I guess. But so I got healthy, and I guess the toughest thing about tearing your ACL is it's just it's such a long process of getting healthy. It took me a full year to even be able to kind of get back on the football field. And even a year after that, so I would say it took me a full 2 years to kind of feel normal. Right.
Wow.
Like now I finally feel normal again. So going into that training camp, they brought in another snapper who, again, Andrew East, great guy, great snapper, but he was just always fighting for his opportunity to get his foot in the door. So they brought him in for competition, and I guess I'm thankful that I was able to beat him out. I'm sure he would have a different story. I doubt he's thankful for that. But so I was able to make the team again. And again, it was just it was a grind, doing the rehab and staying healthy. But my body just didn't feel, all the way normal still. And then the 5th game of that year, it was the 5th game. We were at Kansas City. It was pouring rain. And for those that don't know, Kansas City is without a doubt the loudest stadium in the NFL.
Interesting.
That or Seattle. Yeah, Kansas City and Seattle are both extremely loud. So we were playing. It was pouring down rain. It was loud. So the first punt of the game, I snapped the ball. The guard next to me, didn't hear the snap count. and the guy that was holding up the guard just smoked him, and they both just ran right into my same knee, and I got rolled up on and tore my meniscus again. So it's just one of those things that's unlucky. It is what it is. I tried to play through it. I finished the game, and I tried to play through it, but I couldn't run. It was hurting too bad. Yeah. It is what it is. Obviously, I wish that wouldn't have happened and I would still be playing, but yet again, I've been able to grow more in my relationship with Christ and more in my relationship with my family and my kid. And I honestly, I wouldn't change anything,
Wow. No, that says a lot. And so now that you're in this situation where you're, waiting for that opportunity, waiting for the phone call, what are you learning specifically in this season? Because this season is different than the painful season of going through rehab and all of that, kind of missing out, knowing that you could be out there, but you're dealing with an injury. Finding the value in reconnecting, with the Lord and your family and growing in those areas, which is awesome. So now this one, it's a little bit different. And what do you find is kind of the theme right now for you?
If anybody knows anything about me, you know that Dr. Kevin Elko is a huge mentor of mine. And one thing that he always says is be where your feet are. I think that's kind of the main, point of emphasis for me right now is it would be really easy to look at, my life, 3 or 4 years ago and what I had then and keep trying to chase that. But I'm really excited about the opportunities that I have now. I'm really excited that, I get to hug and kiss, my son every single day and spend, great quality time with him. I'm excited that, I get to wake up with my wife every morning and eat breakfast with her. There's a lot of positive things that are going on in my life right now that if I was focused on, the negativity or, chasing something else that I would, completely miss out on. So I think that is, and granted, like, I feel like you never know, the full lesson of what God's trying to teach you until after the fact. Right.
True.
If you ask me a year from now, what season, what lessons am I learning in this season? I might say something totally different, but
yeah.
But right now, just, being where my feet are and, just not taking the things that I have for granted right now is really huge for me.
That's encouraging. I think that's good for everyone to hear today because there's always something that we want a little bit different or we're chasing after something and waiting for something or hoping for something and to really embrace where we're at. And it's sometimes it's easy to say, and it's really, really hard to do because I can relate to it, and I'm right there with you. So appreciate you sharing all that. And you mentioned when you look back at a season, then you can reflect, and you'll kind of have a better understanding of what God really taught you through that. I'm curious because the last time we talked about the book that you wrote and talked about your whole journey with that, and the book is called A Season to Remember: Faith in the Midst of the Storm. And I'm curious, all these years later, what impact did that book have on people, and how glad are you that you wrote that book, and was there a part of you that maybe you didn't wish you wrote that book and have to share what you did and that kind of thing? Just what are your emotions and thoughts in regards to sharing that story and all that kind of came from that?
Yeah, definitely. So it was not easy to write that book. It goes into a lot of, intimate details about my life and how I felt during that time. But even, God, what was that, 7-8 years ago now, there's never been anything that I regret about writing that book. I've got nothing but, positive feedback from that book. And it's just, it's really cool to see, the impact that I've or the book has been able to have, and how many people have reached out to me, and just saying that it was such an encouragement to them. I'm really, fortunate that I was able to do that. A couple of things, aligned in the right way that I never thought, that I would be able to do. Yeah, in terms of the book, I got nothing but positive things to say. You know, it was really difficult to write, and it was very hard at times. But man, I'm just so fortunate that I was able to do that, and it is just awesome to see, you know, the impact that people have had. You know, I've met people in Houston now, and they found out that, I mean, these people didn't know me, you know, at all, and they found out that I wrote a book. And they get a hold of it and read it, and they're just like, wow, you know. I went to this, there's a really cool group in Austin, Texas, that I go to. It's on Saturdays. I'm able to go every once in a while, and it's a sprint group. And they just go out there, and it's just like a community, you know, vibe. It's free, and they just go to a park, and they just run sprints. It sounds miserable, but it's actually like a really cool deal.
Yeah.
So if you're ever in Austin, I don't know the name of the park, but just to try to find it, it's an awesome sprint group. It's led by a couple of really good guys, and it's just a great community out there. But I had a book in my truck, and one of the guys that leads the group had actually just torn his ACL.
Oh man.
And like at the beginning of every class, they kind of had like a theme, and this theme was like talk about a point in your life that you thought was going to be negative, but you overcame adversity, and it made you, you know, a better person. And I immediately, you know, I was like, man, I wrote a book about that, you know?
Wow.
I didn't say that, but, you know, a lot of people, you know, spoke up, and I mean, it was a really cool, like I said, you know, community vibe. But afterwards, I, you know, told him who I was, and I told him that I, you know, just tore my ACL too. And side note, it's just crazy kind of the impact that you can have on people with like a common bond, you know.
Yeah.
Things that you thought were so negative, there's a lot of people out there that are, you know, going through the same thing that you can encourage. And that negativity gives you the common bond, right? The adversity, it gives you the authority to talk to them. So I told him who I was, told him I tore my ACL, and I had a book in my truck. And I gave him a book, and I was like, hey, man, you know, hopefully, you know, you get a chance to read this and you're able to pull, you know, a couple nuggets out of it that'll stick with you. And I went back to the class probably a month later, and, dude, it just the impact that book was able to have on him. I mean, and this is, you know, years later. I think that's so cool. He said that the main takeaway that he had was, you know, not focusing on himself, but how he could, you know, have an impact on others and, you know, be a blessing to other people. And he said that's helped him, you know, just tremendously. So, I mean, I got countless stories like that. So it's just really cool to know that my story can affect other people as they affect other people, you know?
Yeah. Oh, man. No, that's so encouraging. And all of us have our own story. All of us have the challenges that we've been through and difficult seasons that can then bless others down the line, and then those people bless others, and it's an incredible thing. So, yeah, appreciate you sharing that, and appreciate you writing that book, and awesome to hear that it's still living on and have an impact on people. It's encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
Well, man, we'll lighten it up a little bit, and just checking out your social media a little bit, and people can follow you on Twitter, Carson Tink. I want to hear about you being a dad, but first up, I saw you post on Twitter that you went to a Sesame Street event, and you ended up getting big timed by one of the characters. Tell me the story, because it sounds hilarious.
Yeah, so we took our 2-year-old to Sesame Street Live. We told him it was Elmo's birthday party, so he was like super fired up. And my wife and I were talking. I mean, because this is like a like national tour, you know, show. I mean, they're pretty much like a rock band, but they're Sesame Street characters.
Yep.
And my wife and I were talking. You know, what do you think it's like being one of these performers? Like, you know, because they probably, you know, go to different restaurants and, you know, go out, you know, in the city. And do you think they like tell people, you know, who they are and why they're there? You know, like, you know, you're at like a steakhouse or something, and you think they're telling people that, you know, they're the Cookie Monster, or like what are they doing? So we had this conversation about it, and I mean the show was great. I mean, you know, for Sesame Street, I didn't grow up like a huge Sesame Street guy, but it was a great show, fantastic. You know, my son loved it. And then as we're leaving, there's this it was like like a black car, like a black Tahoe, like Uber Black or whatever. Drops this guy off, and he's got like he looks like somebody that's in theater. He's got like a black suit, untucked button-up shirt with like a press pass, like a little badge. And I hear the driver say, good luck on your show, or, have a good show, or whatever. And so, it immediately registered that guy is one of the characters, right? And so I wanted to talk to this guy because I had all these questions about, what's it like being a Sesame Street character? Because my wife and I were talking about it. So I asked him, I said, hey man, are you in the show? And he didn't even look up, man. And this is like, he's probably 5 feet away. He obviously heard me. There was no one in the parking lot. I don't know. I was just trying to talk to him. And he kept his head down. I was like, hey man, are you one of the Sesame Street characters? Like, what's the deal? And he's like, no, I'm in sanitation. And then turned his head and just kept walking. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me, man. I just got big time by a Sesame Street character.
Oh my gosh, that's great. I love that. A former NFL player getting big time by a Sesame Street character. You can't write that.
It is what it is, man.
That's really funny.
I was telling some of my parent friends about it, and they tried to assure me that it's probably under contract that they can't say who they are, because they don't want to ruin it for the kids. They all tried to make me feel better, but he big time me, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, I'm sure. Oh, that's funny though. That's a good story. Thanks for sharing that. I love it. One other thing I noticed on Twitter, and I was a huge Kobe Bryant fan, and so of course devastated by his loss and all that's been going on, just in remembering him. But I saw you post how Coach Saban used to show Kobe videos before games while you were at Alabama, and found that fascinating. So what was kind of the memory that you have of watching those videos, and how did Saban kind of use those for motivation? Yeah,
for sure. So I didn't grow up I don't know. My favorite basketball player growing up when I was a kid was Shaquille O'Neal. I actually we had a lab, and we named him Shaq when I was a kid. But I grew up playing baseball. And then it went right into football. So I never really got into basketball. And so I never really watched, Kobe Bryant. And, I don't even know who else would be playing at that time, honestly. That's how ignorant I am about early 90s, early 2000s basketball. But we got to Alabama, or I got to Alabama. Saban, if you know anything about Coach Saban, he's got this huge – he really believes in the mental approach, like the mental side to football, right? So there's a lot of people that he would try to show us that we could emulate. And, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, all of, who people think are the greats, Tom Brady and, those guys. And Kobe Bryant is obviously, one of those people that, he was so mentally tough. If there was a game-winning opportunity, he wanted the ball. His work ethic was just, unprecedented. And so that was kind of my first glimpse of who Kobe Bryant was and what he was about. And that's just one of those things that, will always stick with me. In terms of, work ethic and, consistency and, just putting in the work every single day. And, when that big moment does come, you can always rely on the hard work that you put in. So, nothing but respect for Kobe Bryant and what he was able to do.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. That's awesome. Well, man, it's been great catching up with you. Hate has been so long, but we'll definitely have to do this again, and wish you the best, whether you make it back into the NFL or you continue on this new career in sports marketing. And I guess actually real quick, what's it like being a dad of a 2-year-old son? How much fun are you having as a dad?
Man, it is the coolest thing ever. I never really was like a huge, toddler kind of guy. Dude, I'm all in now. Even other people's kids. I like playing with other people's kids. But, yep. It's the coolest thing. His favorite song right now, is Paradise City by the Guns N' Roses.
Oh, man.
So like he'll wake up in the morning and he wants me to play Paradise City on the speaker. He wants me to sing it to him at night. I mean, I never thought that something could be so cool. It's the coolest thing I've ever done, and I'm so thankful that I mean God has blessed me with such a cool kid.
That's awesome. I've got a 6-month-old daughter, so I'm new to fatherhood as well. And it is funny, once you have your own kid, then you just kind of embrace kids all of a sudden. And so I'm like a better uncle now, and you're just more in tune with kids. Because before that, I don't know, there's just a funny dynamic. So that's
exactly, man. Because I got nieces and nephews, and I never wanted to have anything to do with them. But since I had a kid, I mean, I'm like uncle of the year now, So
yeah, it's funny how that happens.
Congrats on the 6-month-old.
Oh, I appreciate it, man. It's been a blast. So I'm soaking it in and loving being a dad. There's nothing like it.
I feel like that's when it really starts getting cool. Is around 6 months. When they start sleeping through the night every once in a while, and they start smiling and showing a little bit of personality. So have fun, man.
Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, there's nothing better when I get home and she acknowledges that I'm home. It's a special moment.
Yeah.
So,
man, yeah, that's when you're out of the dark. You're out of the darkness, man. You got the light now. You're able to. It's like worth it, man. Like, oh man, having a kid is what everybody said it was.
Exactly. Those first couple months are tough, so you ease into it.
Yeah, you're like, man, I don't know about this.
That's it. Exactly. So at least I'm glad I wasn't the only one that went through that kind of thing. So. Well, man, great catching up, and wish you the best, and we'll stay in touch. And thanks for joining us today on the Unpacking It podcast.
Man, thanks for having me. I'll do this anytime you need me, man.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Carson. He's Carson Tinker right here on the Unpacking It podcast.
Intriguing guests and inspiring conversations. This is Unpacking It with Bryce Johnson.
All right, Carson Tinker. I really liked his voice. I told him that afterward and asked him if he was going to get into broadcasting. Apparently, that's not the direction he's going to go. But I enjoyed listening to him and hope you did as well. My big takeaway was the part about the season that he's in right now, where he is waiting to get back into the NFL, waiting for the chance, for the opportunity, for the phone call. And it might never come. And the fact that he had 6 years in the NFL is awesome and had that opportunity already, but there's still a part of him that wants to get back. But at the same time, he's trying to, and it seems like for the most part is, embracing where he's at. And he is able to be home with his son more. And he's kind of pursuing this new career and has this new job as a marketing guy and being able to be involved with sports marketing. And so at some point, he's going to have to be all in on his next career. Right now, he's kind of still feeling out, all right, maybe I'll get back to the NFL while embracing what's next. And so when I hear that, I can relate in a lot of ways. And total transparency from me, I love what we're doing here at Unpacking It with this podcast, the devotional, the events. We've got the packs. We've got the fantasy football book. We've got a lot going on. But I'm also sitting here in the studio looking across the room at the big whiteboard. And there are things that I'd like to see us do. There are dreams, there are goals, there are visions that we'd love to pursue. And we can't right now. We're waiting for the call. We're waiting for the funding to come in. We're waiting for you to donate. But we're waiting and trusting that God is going to provide and open up the doors and allow us to move forward in some of these different directions. But for now, we have to embrace where we're at and the exciting opportunities right in front of us, what we're doing in this moment. And so I can either focus on, this awesome podcast that we just did with Carson Tinker, or look up at the board and I've got 11 names of dream guests to be on this podcast. Well, I'm bummed we haven't been able to get my favorite NBA player on this show yet, David Robinson, even though his son played very well for Duke the other day. But I'd love to get David Robinson on the show. He hasn't been on yet, so I'm waiting. I'm hoping that happens. But in the meantime, we enjoy the conversations that we have, and we've got a number of other big dreams that we believe will happen over the next, years and decades, Lord willing, that we do this podcast. But there are many things we're going to have to wait for. And so if you're listening today, there's probably something you're waiting for. You wish something was different in your life, but it's so cliche, and we just got to embrace and enjoy where we're at, the people we're with, what's going on today. And, I can't wait for little Maddie to start talking. But at the same time, I got to enjoy right now the little coos and the funny sounds that she's making and the stage that we're in right now with her. And so for Carson Tinker, it's a little bit of, up in the air at the moment, but he has a lot to enjoy and soak in. And so I think that was a great conversation and a relatable point for me, and I know for you as well, regardless of where you're at kind of in life and waiting on something or hoping for something to change. And it really comes down to the perspective and trusting God in the place we're at and loving him and thanking him for what we do have and what we are experiencing right now. I hope that is encouraging to you. And thanks so much for listening to the Unpacking It podcast today. Be sure to check out our website, unpackingit.com. Always love the emails, Bryce@unpackingit.com. Until next time, I'm Bryce Johnson. I'm a sports fan who follows Jesus. I believe in the good news that he died on the cross for my sins. He was resurrected, and through faith, I have been saved by his grace. I hope that is true for you as well, and I hope you'll join me as we live life as sports fans who follow Jesus together. Have a wonderful rest of your day. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Unpacking It podcast.
For more information about the show, our events, and other resources, visit unpackingit.com. That's unpackingit.com. We hope you are encouraged, inspired, and challenged by what you heard today. To support our show and Unpacking It Ministries with a financial gift, visit unpackingit.com/donate. We look forward to unpacking sports, faith, and life with you again next week.